Del, listen to me. Dr. Grimm must eat a burrito, otherwise Marla's cover will be completely blown.
You want to know what my favorite genre of movie is? The kind of movie that you're just baffled even exists at all. These films force you to give a side glance and just wonder why. Food Fight is a good example of this. There's a film about grocery store product logos. Why? Who would do that? I guess Adam Sandler would. Movies like that occupy so much space in my mind, as I'm forced to come up with question after question after question. And I know that, in 10 years, I'm going to tell people that they made a movie based on the board game Battleship. And not a single person is gonna believe me. And that's before I even go on about how Rihanna is in it, and has aliens. Shark Boy and Lava Girl, that's another good example. I'm probably never going to call that movie good. Except for this one moment here.
For every person who dreams up the electric light bulb, there's the one who dreams up the atom bomb.
But it's not a film that I regret watching. And it's definitely not a film that I'm ever gonna forget watching. These are the movies that should have more self-confidence than is really healthy. The kind of confidence that makes you say, yeah, we're casting Jack Black as R.L. Stine, the writer. These kind of films make up Nick Cage's entire career.
I'm a vampire! 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 I'm a vampire!
But especially the National Treasure movies, by the virtue of having Nick Cage being in a role so outside of what Nick Cage usually does. But honestly, I kinda love the National Treasure movies because of his performance. And I swear to God, I see these two films every 4th of July. Many of these movies are not good. I'll fully admit that, but that doesn't mean they're bad. Most of these movies actually transcend labels like good and bad, and they just are. I think that when people announced the Lego movie, a lot of people thought that it was going to be something like one of these movies. That it would be a horrendous train wreck, but one that would be a sight to behold, and would be completely unforgettable. Like the firework that sets your house ablaze. Honestly though, the only real surprise with the Lego movie is that it happened to be incredibly good. One of the best animated films of the 2010s, with a unique style, its own charm, and a song that still has not left my brain.
Gosh, I love this song!
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool with the part of the team.
It also managed to be a great advertisement for Legos, by not just displaying the product, but by showing the feeling and understanding that the toy brings. Honestly, Lego Movie makes me really nostalgic for all the fun things that I used to do with Legos when I was a kid. I would have bought some after seeing the movie, if they didn't cost $1 bajillion now. What the hell is this? Are they making Legos out of diamonds now? Why are people buying GameStop when you could just buy Legos? It sounds like the more profitable investment at this point. In hindsight though, I think that it was inevitable that we would have gotten a Lego movie eventually. Like it's inevitable that we got a Barbie movie. Playmobil, on the other hand. So if you're like me, when you first heard this one, you had several questions. The first one being, what the hell is Playmobil? So I'm gonna describe them, but I'm probably gonna piss off some hardcore collectors. But here's the best way I can describe Playmobil. So, Lego, right? Have you ever asked, I want that set, but I don't want to put it together? Playmobil. They are basically dolls. I don't mean that as an insult. I just calls them as I sees them. And these sets kind of look like a bigger, blockier, more sturdy version of Polly Pocket. They do look cool though, and I'll probably be asking Santa for them, but they are still dolls. Playmobil has always had a hard time escaping Lego's shadow, and when the Playmobil movie came out, it was criticized for just being a terrible rehash of the Lego movie. It was on everyone's worst animated films of 2019 list, except mine, I guess. In my personal opinion, in good conscience, I cannot call this a rehash of the Lego movie. I don't know what the hell I'd call this, but Playmobil the movie is one of the most batshit bonkers animated films I have ever seen in my life. At least one that went to theaters. So, what am I even talking about? Right out of the gate, we're hit with its first major surprise. One of the most disturbing things that I can think of. Live action. Honestly, for the first 10 minutes, I kinda thought that I put in the wrong movie. None of the advertisements even remotely hinted that any part of this would be live action. But if that wasn't enough...
I get to be an explorer, and never before her. There's so much to sample, nothing I can't handle. Can't wait to embark.
You're watching this, right? So, despite this movie starting in live action, we have the requisite opening song that you'd get in a Disney animated musical. But instead of seeing animals on the savannah or the towers of Notre Dame, we have this college girl named Marla singing to her brother Charlie and dancing around her suburban home.
We don't need a posh life, a connect the dots life. I'll hop on the next flight into the unknown.
In live action! I think I have to restate that. what am I even looking at? This song isn't bad for what it's worth, but like, I'm watching a girl dance around her house. You know how they say dance like no one's watching? Maybe don't do that, cause it kinda looks like this. I swear to God, this is an animated movie, but this part right here is more of a cartoon than anything that follows. So, you wanna know what sparks this song? Marla has her passport. Seriously. This sounds like something that I shouldn't even be mentioning, but don't you fucking forget that passport. It is the most important shit in history. You have to keep an eye on that passport like it's the goddamn One Ring. Anyway, if you're about to die of cringe, don't worry. The song ends, and then the police show up, and we learn that Marla's parents are dead. I'm not kidding.
Marla Brennan,
Yes?
I'm sorry, but there's been an accident.
Could you imagine if you're like watching Beauty and the Beast, Bella's singing Little Town, and then she walks home and finds out that her dad is dead? I mean, technically something like this happens in Milan.
Wish that I had.
But to be fair, it's more fucking hilarious when it happens in Playmobil. At the same time, I do think that there is some plot potential here. This college-age girl is suddenly forced to look after her little brother and her parents' untimely death. Dealing with that kind of situation could easily lead to some fantastic drama. Or we're just gonna skip over that and go to 4 years later. If this is what live-action movies are like, I, really have to see more of them. At least over the past 4 years, our main characters have developed quite a bit. Marla learned to stop being cringe around the house. And Charlie grew up to be a piece of shit.
This sucks! Language! And don't you dare!
Okay. Then he runs away, in a storm. Because, what did I just say? Oh yeah, he's a piece of shit. I remember that fad back in 2019 where people took Polaroids of their toys for no reason. Wait, no I don't, cause that didn't happen. That's the picture you used for her on the phone. Who took that picture? Why? Does this family just not understand photography? Anyway, it's on to page 3 of the script, and I don't want this video to be flagged as for kids, so we need to get to the actual animated parts. Charlie breaks into a toy convention in the middle of the night, Marla follows him, and then they end up in a display room for sets you can buy at your local KB, Toys R, Amazon. You can buy them at fucking Amazon. Time is sad. Actually, that's kind of one of the criticisms that this movie gets. Unlike the Lego movie where everything is largely accurate to the playsets, the Playmobil movie, isn't. I'm not an expert on this by any means, but this is something that I've heard time and again. On a similar note, for a quick cash-in movie, they actually never use the word Playmobil once in the entire film. Seriously, you don't even see the Playmobil logo. Unless you count the title, of course. Like, everyone watching this film is just supposed to instinctively know what Playmobil is. Charlie is, once again, a piece of shit.
What is wrong with you? You used to talk about adventures and seeing the world. Nothing's worse than a small, stationary life.
It's full of disappointments and it's not the way you want it to be.
Ever since Mom and Dad died,
Don't, Charlie.
you died.
Gee, it's almost like her parents died or something and she's been caring for you for the past 4 years. And you ran away, with the only reason being that your sister isn't fun.
And I learned the hard way that life is not an adventure.
That's just how you made it.
And then you accused her of murder. Anyway, Marla trips the security alarm and the movie turns into Small Soldiers for a minute. Then the two of them get zapped by a lighthouse. And finally, we're to the animation. And now that we're finally onto the animation, let's talk about the animation. It's okay for 2019. I mean, sort of. It's not technically wrong. Like, for the most part, it's serviceable for a theatrical animated film. But I just have gripes with the style. Let's go back to the Lego movie for a minute. That movie looks wonderful, despite the fact that Lego is made of very simplistic shapes. Mostly just bricks with a few cylinders rolled in there. When you have that in a movie, it can give the appearance of looking low budget. So the Lego movie made a very interesting stylistic choice. The Lego movie worked very, very hard to make a CGI film look like a stop motion film. And it makes an interesting effect. I can't think of another movie like it. Playmobil is very similar to Lego, at least in the design of their characters. And the environments aren't the most complex things in the world either. You wanna know what the fun thing about animation you see in the cinemas is? It tends to be the most complex thing in the world. So many animated films of the 2010s, this one included, were about going from set piece to set piece with all kinds of crazy and colorful moving parts. It was basically the one plot that was used time and time and time and time again. This one tries to do the standard stock animated movie plot of the 2010s, but the simplistic shapes of the toy hinders the overall product. The expression work is great on the characters, but that's because it's not toy accurate and it's allowed to be overly expressive. The environments, on the other hand, I'm gonna be honest, brutally honest. A lot of the times, I felt like I was looking at a low-budget preschool cartoon. A lot of the backgrounds, for example, they don't even look fully rendered. That's not because the movie is low budget or anything. It managed to lose $30 million after all. It's just a poor stylistic choice that leaves the movie kind of boring to look at. Also, Charlie's a Viking now. If you're wondering why Charlie is a Viking, I have a very simple explanation for that. The plot doesn't work if Charlie is not a Viking. I didn't say it was a good explanation, I said it was a simple explanation. I have wonderful news though. The movie is gonna pretend
You died.
that never even happened. In fact, the dead parents aren't relevant to anything else that happens in the entire film. And if you manage to survive that, I got even better news for you. The longboats show up and the Vikings get into a war with the Scottish. So there's something I'm going to need to make abundantly clear from here on out. I'm going to try to describe this movie as accurately as I possibly can, but literally the entire movie is out of context of itself.
But this truck is all I have! You can't just send someone to take my...
Out of the way! I'm taking the truck.
The movie ends with a T-Rex eating a magical bale of hay and growing wings, and then destroying the career of Adam Lambert. What happens immediately after this current place in the plot is that Charlie wins the war via diplomacy.
Excuse me! Are you guys the good guys? Never mind, I'll just follow you.
Then he gets spied on and kidnapped by pirates who are working for Adam Lambert, who is a Roman emperor in this film, that is in contact with the pirates through an old-fashioned rotary phone. Either of these both make just as much sense coming after the previous scene, where Charlie was once again turned into a Viking by a lighthouse. If you want to survive Playmobil the movie, I have a very simple piece of advice. You have to learn to not ask questions, because when you do, it goes a little something like this. Adam Lambert. Adam Lambert! Adam Lambert is in Playmobil the movie. As the villain of Playmobil the movie. Adam Lambert is the Emperor of Rome. Wait, no, the evil Emperor of Rome. Because Adam Lambert is the villain of Playmobil the movie, and he has pirates working for him to kidnap a Viking. And despite the fact that this movie stars Adam Lambert, once again, as the villain emperor of ancient Rome, I somehow constantly forget that the Playmobil movie is actually a musical.
I'm Soros the Destroyer, enemies be warned. Let the feast begin.
I don't know if it's just me, or if it's Playmobil the movie, or the fact that the Lego movie isn't, but I keep expecting this film to not be a musical, so whenever the singing starts, it just blindsides me. Even after the movie starts with,
We don't need a posh life, a connects the dots life.
You know, I don't want to talk about the opening song anymore. Let me put it this way. Even though this is my third time watching the film, I keep getting surprised that this movie has musical numbers. I have never had this experience before with any other film, and I don't know what it means. All I know is that Charlie eats himself to Kingdom Come on a trebuchet. Then there's a horse chase on the interstate. I'm not really skipping anything. So, in order to save her Viking brother, who has been kidnapped by pirates working for Adam Lambert, Marla has to fish up a food truck being driven by Robin Williams from Jumanji. And then the pirate truck zaps away like the DeLorean in Back to the Future. So, at this point in the movie, I had a very haunting realization. I figured out I don't actually hate Playmobil the movie. Like, I want to make this abundantly clear. Playmobil the movie is stupid. It's abundantly stupid. But to me, it's the right kind of stupid. Like, not just every scene, but every line of dialogue in this movie sounds like it's out of context. And I'm kind of in love with that. The next scene's a Western. Sure, why not? So this woman is trying to get a posse together to rescue her brother, who I have to keep reminding myself was turned into a Viking by a lighthouse. She runs into food truck guy, who is trying and failing to sell magical hay to cowboys, so he can pay back gender swap Jabba the Hutt, which is something that I really wish didn't exist. Unfortunately, we learn that Marla is still cringe outside the house.
Yeehaw! I'm leading a posse to find my rootinest, tootinest brother.
This makes a baby and a chicken very upset, and now everyone wants to kill her. Then, in the best moment of the film, it canonizes the fact that Playmobil toys do actually in fact have testicles. Did the Lego movie ever do that? I didn't think so. Oh wait, yeah, there was the sequel. Never mind, point withdrawn. Marla and Food Truck Guy then ride off into the sunset. No, I'm not going to explain to you why there are multicolored Pegasi. Blame Rainbow Dash. It's much more logical than any explanation that the movie itself gives. While a lot of this movie is the right kind of stupid for me, a lot of this movie is also the wrong kind of stupid for me. Marla only has 2 pieces of Viking gold, so she tells Food Truck Guy that he'll get all of the gold if he helps her rescue her Viking brother. Marla says that there's 50 gold coins. So right away, you know that there's gonna be a liar revealed, which leads to a second act breakup, which for some reason is in every movie ever, for no fucking reason, because no one I've ever talked to has ever liked this cliche ever. But I have wonderful news. These two almost hit a Triceratops, and then they fall off the cliff. Unfortunately, they actually do hit Hammy from over the hedge, but then they end up in Soviet Russia, which is just cool. I'm totally adding that Playmobil set to the top of my Christmas list. In all seriousness, though, this is the best part of the movie. Even if you don't like the movie, you like this part, because it features...
Surprise! Rex Dasher.
Rex Dasher!
At your service.
Rex Dasher was at the forefront of all of the advertisements for the film, to the point where people thought that it was going to be a full-on spy film, because it should have been. Because Rex Dasher is just the best fucking character in the movie. He is this super spy who is so in his own little world. Every second this man is on screen is just amazing. In lesser hands, a lot of his lines would probably sound creepy.
We're heading into dangerous territory, both with the villains and your feelings for me.
But the performance and the portrayal is just so wonderful that it all comes across as silly and lighthearted. Like, he does keep saying that Marla is falling in love with him, and I get how that could be a sticking point for some people. But they never do push it to a point where it's uncomfortable, and no one in the film takes it seriously at all. Marla included. It helps that he's played by...
Expecto Patronum!
That's right! Expecto Patronum.
I'm sorry, I understand. You are Harry? You played Harry?
No, I am Harry. But, really, I was a wizard playing an actor.
And I think that it was this movie that made me realize that he's actually a pretty good actor. I mean, logically, he should be a good actor because he's been acting since he was 10 years old. But between this and Swiss Army Man, it gave me the impression that he was coming across as desperate to not be seen as the Expecto Patronum guy for the rest of his life. But after some reflection, between Swiss Army Man and this, I'm kind of thinking that Daniel Radcliffe is becoming this generation's Nick Cage.
I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!
Where a movie is just fascinating solely due to the fact that he's in it at all. He takes these roles super serious that, by all means, probably shouldn't be taken seriously at all. This is Playmobil the movie we're talking about. But no, he's playing this like he's Daniel Craig, when there are lines like this.
The Secret Killers Union of Lethal Lemurs.
Not to mention his goddamn theme. It's not so much that it just says Rex Dasher with everything that he does, it's that he stops because he knows that his theme is going to play.
Rex Dasher.
Rex Dasher!
Honestly, I'd even say that the Rex Dasher part of the movie is worth the price of entry. You know, if it wasn't so short. The advertisements, and even the movie itself, kind of suggest that he's going to be a partner throughout the entire film, like Food Truck Guy is. But Rex Dasher gets kidnapped by the pirates. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with Food Truck Guy, he's just no.
Rex Dasher!
Unfortunately though, there are some points of the film that are not so good. Every so often we cut back to the people that Adam Lambert have kidnapped. In one scene, we have Charlie and a bunch of them trying to escape. And it's this big scene that lasts a decent chunk of the movie, and it looks like they're gonna get away. They even have this moment where they accidentally knock out the pirate captain, the good one that's on the good guys team. Once again, no, I'm not going to explain it. And Charlie is forced to drive the boat, because, once again, he's a Viking. And he's a Viking because he was turned into one by a lighthouse. But it don't go so well. And this scene is literally pointless. Like, they start in jail, and they end in jail, and the next scene is them in jail, where they break out again. It has no contribution to the overall plot. It could have and should have been cut out completely because it has no effect on anything. I don't want to say that the B-plot is all bad. Adam Lambert actually has a villain song, because what kind of movie would you be if you hired a singer to not sing?
Here, I bet you're dying to know. Oops, bad choice of words. I am ruler of these masses, like my daddy and my daddy's daddy before that.
Like the movie overall, I can't tell if the song is good or bad. The only thing that I can say for sure is that I ain't ever heard anything quite like this before. And I've listened to every song in history. Yes, really.
Nothing here is even illegal.
You know what? Fuck it. More villains need to say, nothing here is illegal. That's a pretty powerful line, actually. The intel from leads them to the gender-swapped Jabba the Hutt, where the worst part of the movie happens. I gotta tell you something. Wait. Before you tell me that, I gotta say that you never, ever do the thing that you gotta tell me, because it'd break my heart, or you'd be a terrible person, or blah blah blah. It's all variations on the same thing that you've heard time and time again since 1924. Honestly, I'd argue that this is probably the oldest animation cliche in existence, and there's virtually no excuse for it in a 2019 movie, kids movie or otherwise. On the plus side though, we get to meet Wally, also Meghan Trainor. Sure, yes, why not? Remember when I said that this movie kind of looked like a low-budget preschool cartoon? This is the part of the movie where it's most apparent. I don't know, the fantasy kingdom with the toy animals, is it just me because this looks like it belongs on Playhouse Disney or something? Anyway, Meghan Trainor gives Marla her passport. A United States passport. The most whimsical thing in this world or any other. So Marla and Wally take a magic carpet thing to the island where her brother is being held captive. Then it lets her off on a rock.
Whoa! So it's heavily guarded and impossibly tall.
Good thing the magic carpet let me down right here, on this rock, outside the fortress.
As Amelia Earhart once said, adventure is worthwhile in itself.
Considering what I know about Amelia Earhart, I don't think that's as encouraging as you think it is. The movie does have a fitting climax at least. Marla comes to her brother's aid and they have to fight Barney the dinosaur. When Marla learns that stabbing a plastic dinosaur with a plastic sword is a bad idea, it looks like the end. But then Food Truck Guy saves the day with Wally. And they win the fight. With the help of the winged T-Rex, they're able to return to the lighthouse and the real world. For a second, it looks like this was all in their imagination, but then Marla finds her passport stamp from all of the Playmobil toy sets. You are so going to get pulled over by border control the next time you try to leave the country. And that was Playmobil the movie. My honest thoughts. I would not call this a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. It definitely has good parts. Like, unironically, good parts that I do love. Which is more than I can say for most of the films that I review, like Chicken Little or Shark Tale, which are just dead from beginning to end. But the plot is basically fucking nonsense. And the parts that aren't nonsense are cliches that you'd find in just about any other animated movie from the 2010s. However, at the same time, with the right mindset, I found that this was actually an enjoyable film. Like, really enjoyable. If you're someone who just likes the batshit ridiculous in your films, I think you could actually get a lot out of this one. Maybe you could call it so bad it's good. I'd be comfortable putting in that category. I mean, it's not up there with masterpieces in that genre such as Troll 2, The Room, or The Happening. But honestly, I haven't had this much fun watching a quote-unquote bad movie in a very long time. I have to say quote-unquote because if a film is enjoyable, you can't really call it bad, can you? And I mean, I do believe I'm getting the intended effect of this movie. And while there are parts that do legitimately annoy me, I liked way more about this film than I didn't. And unlike the shitty, forgettable ripoff of the Lego movie that I was promised, I'm never gonna forget this one. And I can't promise that you'll like this movie, but if Adam Lambert playing the evil Emperor of Rome leading pirates to kidnap a Viking sounds even remotely interesting to you, well, Playmobil the movie might be one to check out sometime soon. Now, despite my reputation, I'm not this animation grump all the time. I have plenty of guilty pleasures, and there's a lot of stuff that I love going against the grain. In fact, I think next time, we're going to be looking at one of my all-time favorite Disney movies, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Yes, the one that came out in 2022. See you then.